In today's video, we are making a cute ghost ornament for Valentine's Day. The pattern I'm using is available in my Etsy shop as a PDF pattern. The link is in the description box below. Welcome, my pretties, to the Awfully Sweet channel. I start by printing and cutting the ghost pattern. I'm using an acrylic paint pen to trace the smaller heart on red felt. I then cut inside of the line with scissors. Make sure to snip-snap any acrylic spots. I trace the bigger heart on pink felt. This time I'm using Zig Zag Scissors with pointy teeth to cut inside of the line. This will give the heart a more delicate and laced look for our Valentine's Day ghost, and it looks even better combined with the red heart. I'm going to make a stencil with the heart that says "Be My Boo" because I can't freehand with letters and I want it to be centered and each letter being the same size. I want it to look perfect, so I'm going to trace it on with this stencil. If you are amazing at this and you can do it freehand, you can skip this part. I'm just cutting the letters, leaving some space for the round shapes like B and O. At the end, it should look like this. Now I can take my red heart and place it under my stencil. Using a white acrylic paint pen, I can trace the letters on my piece of felt. This way I know where I'm going and it is centered and pretty. Time to paint! I transferred some white fabric paint to a smaller container to be able to do finer lines. I slowly pass over the traced letters with the fabric paint. And this is the end result. So worth it. How cute. Let it dry overnight. Moving on to the ghost. I'm tracing the ghost with a yellow acrylic paint pen on white felt. I cut the shape inside of the line with scissors, making sure there is no yellow spots. We'll need two pieces just like this. I am making another stencil to place the eyes and heart on my ghost. I'm cutting the bigger heart and eyes with a craft knife. With my ghost under the stencil, I trace the eyes with a yellow acrylic paint pen. In the video, I also traced the heart, but I really don't recommend this. I would suggest instead placing the heart in the middle and remove the stencil while keeping the heart in place. To paint the eyes, I'm using black fabric paint that I transferred into a smaller container. I like to trace the eye first and then color inside, covering it all black. Let it dry overnight. To create a hanging loop, I'm cutting 3 pieces of embroidery floss, each measuring 7.5 inches. I'm using pink 3716, red 3801, and white. I tie a knot at one hand, tape it down on my work surface, and place an heavy object on top of the knot to keep it in place. I can now make a braid using my spider fingers. Before I almost reach the end, I make another knot. And this is the end result. I'm going to hot glue the heart to the ghost. Like I mentioned earlier, don't trace the heart on the ghost to position it. This is the time to get the stencil, place it on top of the ghost, and center the heart in the middle. Carefully remove the stencil while keeping the heart in place, and hot glue it to the ghost, starting with the pink heart. Align the red heart and glue it to the pink heart. I'm adding more details by painting tiny dots all around the heart with white paint. I place a dot on each little triangle. And now the heart is complete. We need some tiny hands to hold this heart. I'm tracing the hands on white felt. cut inside of the line, I am making another stencil to place the hands on the ghost. They need to be symmetrical and at the same level. With my craft knife, I'm cutting the hands of my paper ghost. I can then place it on top of my felt ghost and put the hands in place. I carefully remove the stencil and ta-da! I lift the hand without moving it and hot glue it in place. This should have been the same process with the heart instead of tracing it. I'm going to sew the ends as well to give them a more finished look. I'm using some white embroidery floss. I tie 2 knots at one hand and place it inside of my needle. I'm doing small whip stitches all around the first arm. When I'm done, I tie a knot at the back. I repeat the exact same process for the other side. This is how it should look in the end. To attach the hanging loop, I first like to cut any excess of embroidery floss. I then cut a tiny rectangle of white felt to cover the ends of the braid. I hot glue it around the braid and then glue it to the back piece, making sure it is centered. It's time to assemble everything together. To close the ornament, I'm using white embroidery floss that I measure by making 3 circles around the ghost. I tie 2 knots at one hand and place it inside of my needle. On the back side, I start in the middle of one of the curves, place the front side on top, and blanket stitch all around the ghost. After a while, there might be some tension in your embroidery floss. Just lift your work and let it spin around. At the hanging loop, I make sure to place my stitches very close on both sides, making sure it stays centered. When I reach the curves on the other side, I start filling the ornament with polyester stuffing. You can use a pencil or a small tool to push it to the sides. Keep stitching and filling gradually until you reach the end. For the last stitch, come back to the first one and make a knot on the side. To hide the embroidery floss inside, I place the needle next to the knot between the front and back pieces. I then let it come out at the back. I pull on the floss and cut the excess with scissors. We did it! Our cute ghost ornament is now complete and ready to hang in our Valentine's Day / Valloween tree. As you probably saw during the video, I made a few ornaments. They are available in my Etsy shop in addition to the PDF pattern. If you would like to buy the ornament, check the link in the description box. If you enjoy spooky ornaments and Halloween DIYs, please be sweet and leave me a little treat by clicking on my pumpkin pail to subscribe to the Awfully Sweet channel. Don't forget to hit the bell notification to know when a new video comes up. There is always enough room on my broom for another crafty ghoul. Let me know in the comment section what Halloween-inspired ornament you would like to see next. Thank you for hanging out with me. Have the most fabulous day. Bye!